Hello, I'm Rebecca Turner with the Office of Special Education and Early Learning. This presentation is designed to complement the resource Strategies for De-Escalating Student Behavior in the Classroom from the Center of PBIS. To explore the full document, simply scan the QR code or click the provided link. Both this resource and the accompanying presentation are intended to support, not replace, your district's approved crisis response training and protocols. They should be used as part of a comprehensive approach to student safety and behavior support, rather than a standalone guide. Our goal is to provide practical strategies that you can integrate into your daily work with students, helping you create a calm, supportive environment where every learner can thrive. The effectiveness of de-escalation strategies is greatly enhanced when they're embedded within a school-wide, multi-tiered behavioral framework, such as school-wide positive behavioral interventions and supports, or PBIS. PBIS provides the foundation for consistent, proactive social, emotional, and behavioral supports at both the school-wide and classroom levels for all students. For students who need additional behavior support to succeed, targeted interventions, or Tier 2, and intensive individualized interventions, or Tier 3, should be intentionally connected to Tier 1 practices. This alignment creates a seamless continuum of support across all tiers, ensuring that strategies are cohesive and reinforce one another. At the bottom of each slide, you'll see a page number. This corresponds to the page number in the de-escalation guide for you to reference. Tier 1 prevention strategies play a critical role in reducing the likelihood of social, emotional, and behavioral challenges in the classroom. These strategies help create positive, predictable, and engaging learning environments where all students can succeed. As outlined by the Center on PBIS, effective prevention strategies include creating safe and inclusive environments where every member of the school community, students, educators, and families feel a sense of belonging. Developing and explicitly teaching clear, positive behavioral expectations and essential social, emotional, and behavioral skills, such as working collaboratively, resolving conflicts, or asking for help. Establishing and teaching consistent classroom routines for key activities, such as transitions, arrivals, and dismissals. Providing engaging academic instruction that matches students' instructional levels and incorporates frequent, varied opportunities to respond, helping prevent off-task or disruptive behavior. Regularly acknowledging pro-social behaviors to reinforce positive actions. Redirecting and reteaching when behavioral errors occur, ensuring students learn from mistakes in a supportive way. These strategies are not just preventative. They set the foundation for a classroom culture where students feel safe, respected, and ready to learn. At the more intensive levels of support, or Tier 3, teams should consider conducting comprehensive functional behavioral assessments, or FBAs, and developing individualized behavior plans, which may include crisis management plans when necessary. It's important to note that the strategies described in this presentation are not intended to replace student-specific interventions outlined in individual plans. Instead, these de-escalation strategies can be applied throughout the continuum to support any student who may become escalated, while also providing a strong foundation of proactive support for all students. A regulated student is generally able to engage with academic content, maintain focus on tasks, follow adult instruction, and interact appropriately with peers and adults within the given context. While regulated students may occasionally exhibit challenging behaviors, they typically respond to redirection through Tier 1 class-wide behavior management strategies, such as brief verbal reminders. When universal classroom management strategies are ineffective and challenging behavior persists or escalates, this may indicate student dysregulation, commonly associated with a fight, flight, or freeze response. Fight or flight or hyperarousal is characterized by heightened emotional reactivity, which can manifest as aggression or unsafe behaviors, such as elopement. Freeze or hypoarousal is characterized by withdrawal or shutdown, during which a student may disengage from their surroundings or experience disassociation. Addressing dysregulation often requires a combination of teacher-directed techniques and student self-regulation strategies. Research indicates that self-calming and self-regulation strategies can help effectively students manage feelings of dysregulation. However, these strategies must be explicitly taught and practiced in calm settings prior to moments of escalation. Teaching self-regulation involves guiding students to recognize early signs of agitation or dysregulation and apply a previously practiced strategy to return to a regulated and calm state. This image depicts the four phases of de-escalation cycle: prevention, escalation, crisis, and recovery and restoration. It is important to understand that these phases do not always occur in a strictly linear sequence. Rather, accurately identifying the student's current phase within the cycle is critical for determining the most appropriate response. Doing so enables educators to address challenging behavior effectively and support the student's return to a regulated state. When selecting de-escalation strategies, it is recommended that educators and team begin by assessing their existing school-wide and class-wide practices to A, identify effective de-escalation strategies already in place and ensure all staff have received training in these practices, and B, determine changes and additions that may further benefit students and help prevent behavior escalation. While prevention is always our first priority, it's important to recognize that proactive strategies don't always stop challenging behaviors from escalating. When behaviors persist, begin to disrupt the learning environment, and increase in intensity, we enter what's called the escalation phase. During this phase, students may show signs of agitation or acceleration. These are key points where our response matters most. The strategies listed on the next four slides from the Center for PBIS are designed to help us de-escalate behaviors effectively and maintain a safe, supportive classroom environment. You can pause this video to access a full list of strategies by scanning the QR code or using the link provided. These resources include practical examples for each level of dysregulation, so you'll have tools ready when you need them. Agitation occurs when a student presents challenging behavior that is slightly elevated in intensity, such as persistent talking out of turn after being given a verbal reminder, wandering the classroom during instruction, or making inappropriate comments to peers. This type of behavior can frequently be redirected by educators through the use of the strategies. Acceleration occurs when initial strategies are ineffective and the student moves into a higher level of dysregulation. Students often move faster through their escalation cycle in the acceleration phase and present increasingly disruptive behaviors, such as inappropriate language, such as swearing, property destruction, such as tearing up work or classroom materials, and verbal harassment, such as threatening peers. This higher level of challenging behavior can often still be effectively de-escalated to prevent a crisis situation, but students may be less responsive. Crisis is the peak of dysregulation. A student in crisis is often unable to regulate their behavior independently and may need support to get out of the flight, fight, or freeze response mode. For example, during a crisis, a student might engage in highly disruptive behaviors, such as yelling or screaming at teachers or peers, or present a safety concern, such as throwing classroom materials and attempting to harm themselves or others. In this phase, the goal is to maintain the safety of all and prevent further escalation, while supporting the student until they are ready for recovery. When addressing a student in crisis, it's critical for staff to have a well-rehearsed crisis support routine to maintain adult regulation and help ensure consistent implementation of the crisis plan. De-escalation following a crisis can be thought of in two stages. First, there is the immediate period of recovery following an intense behavioral incident, during which both staff and student, and often their peers, need to regulate, reinstate calm, and resume typical classroom activities. For example, immediately following a crisis, a student can be tired, exhausted, quiet, or embarrassed. Recovery can last a few minutes or a few hours or the rest of the school day, depending on the student's temperament and the intensity of the behavior exhibited. Welcome the student. Welcome the student back into the space in a positive manner. This can be done discreetly, one-on-one, or in front of the entire class, depending on student preferences and needs. This signals to the student that they are accepted and valued, and models to the class that the student is welcomed into the classroom community. Reintegrate. Allow student to take part in regular classroom activities. Provide clear expectations and directions for the activity, and acknowledge the student's needs, and give positive praise for following expectations. Focus on the present. Allow students time to regain self-regulation, reintegrate back into the classroom, and get back to baseline before discussing consequences or debriefing. Bringing up the crisis situation too early can re-escalate a student. The final stage of de-escalation, restoration, now begins. Restoration may include reparations, such as cleaning up materials that were thrown, redoing an assignment that was torn up, or apologizing to a peer, and are meaningful and contribute to the classroom environment. These reparations may help students recognize how their actions affected others in the classroom. It's also important during the restoration stage for staff to guide student self-reflection on the incident with the goal of A, understanding what events led to escalation, and B, identifying strategies for preventing escalation in similar situations in the future. Debrief with the student. Set aside time to help the student reflect on and describe their perception of the escalation incident, to identify events and circumstances that led to the escalation, thoughts and feelings the student was having at the time, and strategies that staff and student can use to foster self-regulation when similar feelings occur in the future. Staff debrief and self-reflection. Staff review the escalation cycle and reflect on their own behavior and their classroom preventative strategies so that they may A, identify strategies for remaining calm during student escalation or crisis as needed, and B, identify appropriate next steps for better supporting the student and preventing behavioral escalation in the future. For additional information, please see the resources available here. For any questions, please contact me, Rebecca Turner. I can be reached at 502-564-4970, extension 4164, or by email at rebecca.turner@education.ky.gov. Thank you for watching this presentation on de-escalating student behaviors using a PBIS framework.